Okay, so we're going to start where we left off the week before. We branched off last week to section 4, part 4. It was about relationships, especially with Mataji's women. So now, here we are, start here. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Okay, so we started. I'll start reading, I'll set the ball rolling. So this is part two. This is section 5, Mahaprashadam. As is commonly practiced in many temples in India, after the darshanarti, the pujari may distribute small morsels of prasadam to devotees directly from the altar room or from outside. Sometimes, for preaching purposes, small quantity of prasadam is distributed to guests. Devotees respect these remnants immediately, moving somewhat to the side of the temple room so as not to be directly in front of the deities while eating. Try to distribute dry sweet prasadam as wet prasadam may spill on the ground. Other etiquette. If there's any questions as we go through, just put your hand up. Handling sacred items. These are basic things which anybody who lives in a temple I'll actually know, but maybe some of you are not so conversant with temple life, so it's nice to know what these etiquettes are. Book, beads, cartels, etc. should not be kept on the floor in unclean places and should be respected as worshipable paraphernalia. One should not touch one's feet to anything sacred or use one's feet to do what could be done with one's hands. I remember when I was joined the temple, I was out on a bhakti course and I pushed a cushion with my foot and they immediately told me off, and I didn't think there was anything wrong. So, I was a typical example of not being used to temple etiquette. That, as much as possible, the feet are actually considered not so clean. And therefore, if we start to touch devotional articles with the feet, it's actually an offense. In fact, when we go in a temple, everything is actually, sacred. A temple is actually a sacred place. One should not if a sacred object falls to the ground or one's foot touches one should quickly pick it up and touch it to one's head. One should not step over books, devotees, prasadam, flowers that have been offered to the Lord, or over any sacred article. Lalita Priti Mataji has got a question.
Maharaj, this is, I'm looking at the phone, but which website you got this PDF from so that I can look on the computer?
What you said that again? You're looking at the what?
I'm looking the screen on the phone.
Yeah.
So is it in ISKCON Desiratory or this the PDF that we are reading so that I can look on a bigger screen?
The PDF, yeah.
Is it from ISKCON Desiratory, Maharaj, or?
I'm not sure.
Okay, that's fine. Then I'll look at the phone here.
Okay.
I did find it on the internet last week, Maharaj. It's not on Desiratory though, but if you just search for Vaishnava Etiquette Manual, you'll come across it and download it.
Sure, thank you. Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay, thank you, Gaurav. All sacred articles should be kept in a neat, clean place and handled with care. They should not be tossed about, but carefully handed over from person to person. Sacred items like beads, books, tilak, etc. should not be taken into the bathroom. One should be very careful in handling pictures of Guru and Krishna. They should be handled with great care and respect. Special mention may be made of Harinam chadas. Since the holy name is printed on cloth, it is a sacred object and should not be touched to the floor. One should be careful while offering obeisances that bead bag in one's hand does not touch the floor. It may be kept aside before offering obeisances. So yeah, we should put the bead bag on, somewhere else and then offer obeisances on all fours. One should be very careful in handling deities' paraphernalia like their clothes, jewelry, vessels, etc. For instance, clothes and towels should be nicely folded and kept. The vessels should be placed in proper place, and so on. I know when I first joined the movement, actually, there was the spiritual master at that time. Your dirty washing, your old dhoti or your old sari in women's case, and he just let me throw it, in the in the washing pile. But he used to fold this up, So it's a good practice actually to even fold things which are going to be washed. If one touches one's hand to the floor or anything unclean, one should wash hands before touching deity paraphernalia again. I'll just finish this section. Krishna is none different than his paraphernalia, and treating Krishna's paraphernalia badly means to treat Krishna badly. True bhakti will then not appear in our hearts. We have to be conscious at all times that all these different items are not ordinary items, but they are to be used in Krishna's service and therefore are worshipful. It's called Tadyanam. Krishna is not alone. In Nectar of Devotion, it says that when we say the word Krishna, it includes his devotees and all paraphernalia. So, what's that verse? It's a nice verse. Aradhananam sarvesham Vishnu aradhanam param. Tasma parataram devi tadyanam samacharam. So this means that, of all different types of worship of the demigods is recommended, but better than worship of the demigods is worship of Vishnu. But better than worship of Vishnu is Vishnu's devotees. No Vishnu paraphernalia. Okay, Gaura Shakti Prabhu, would you like to read?
Thank you, Maharaj. B, personal habits. One who is serious about spiritual life should rise early in the morning, preferably before the Brahma Muhurta or hour, i.e. 1.5 hours before sunrise. It's said in Srimad Bhagavatam 3:20:46 in the purport, the time early in the morning, 1.5 hours before sunrise, is called Brahma Muhurta. During this Brahma Muhurta, spiritual activities are recommended. Spiritual activities performed early in the morning have a greater effect than in any other part of the day.
Yeah, there was something posted actually on ISKCON Manchester WhatsApp group, and it was about Prabhupada. He actually found out that some devotees were not rising until after 6 o'clock, and so he brought them to his room. And he told them, he says, if you want to actually go back to Godhead, you've got to get up before 6 o'clock.
Shall I continue?
Yeah.
2. After waking up, first brush your teeth. 3. One should then bathe in cold water, and after wearing fresh clothes, begin the day's sadhana. One can also bathe in warm water with a cold shower.
Yeah, that's right, because, we're not living in India. sometimes, it's even indoors, it's like 10 degrees
Mm.
when it's in the middle of the winter. So we have to make sure that we keep healthy as well.
4.
Yeah, carry on.
Bath should be taken after rising early in the morning, long naps of more than an hour, passing stool, excessively perspiring, or being contaminated in any way after visiting crematorium. 5. Personal hygiene and cleanliness should be maintained. Nails should be kept clean and clipped short. Nail clippings should be thrown in the dustbin. Srila Rupa Goswami even mentions that one should carefully clean one's teeth properly and regularly. 6. Hands and legs should be washed after passing water, and hands should be washed properly with soap after passing stool. Brahmana initiates should wrap their sacred threads around their right ear while using the toilet. 7. Only the right hand should be used for eating, chanting on the beads, offering something, accepting something, etc. 8. Wash hands, feet, and mouth before and after honoring prasadam. 9. Wash hands after drinking water. 10. Do not spit while eating. 11. Do not spit on water. There's a note about a man in Manchester was fined £150.
Yeah, I was doing books yesterday, and this person came around and stopped and started talking. And I asked him for a donation. He said, I can't afford it. He said, I just spat down a grate. He didn't even spit on the causeway. He went up to a grate which is where all the water goes and all the refuge, and he just spat down a grate. And this policeman came up and booked him.
Oh. Be careful. 12. Sannyasis should bathe 3 times a day, grihastas and brahmacharis at least twice a day. Do you want me to continue? Should somebody else take on?
We can change because it'll give
It's quite long.
a chance to read then.
Mm.
Thank you, Varashakti. Ranasraj, would you like to read?
Yes, Maharaj, no problem. Bathe after shaving, copulating, or going to a crematorium. One should take rest for about 6 to 6.5 hours every night. Too much sleep or too little sleep is not good for our Krishna consciousness. This will depend on our dosha, kind of work we do, and our health.
So I added that because from experience, everybody's different. And some people, like if you're a pitta dosha, you eat a lot and you don't need much sleep. And if you're a vata dosha, sometimes you need a lot of sleep and sometimes you don't. And if you're a kapha dosha, you tend to sleep more. So, it's also a matter of being in tune with the body. Of course, if we're transcendental, that's a different thing, but we may not be on that platform straight away. But in any case, just to back up this point, it's like if we do push ourselves to take a little bit more sleep, we'll find that actually we don't need so much sleep. We can actually get used to and feel more alert if we take less. So, it's a balance. We can take too little or we can take too much, as Bhagavad Gita says. So It's a little bit of experience and common sense that also is required. Carry on, Ron.
One should try to sleep on the floor or on a hard surface. Luxurious soft bed should be avoided.
And don't forget, this is in India, and it's probably the preaching to the brahmacharis.
Yeah.
So that has to be borne in mind.
Yeah. It is best to sleep on one's left side. If not, then on back, but never on one's stomach. One should not waste Krishna's energy like soap, toothpaste, electricity, water, etc. one should turn off the lights and fans whenever, wherever they are not required.
That reminds me of the Manchester Temple. When people come in, you know, it's like a lighthouse. It's like 15 lights on. So, you know, this is for the congregation. Just, you know, if you put a light on, switch it off. And that one about sleep, actually, this doesn't apply to the Brahmachari ashram, because if anybody, you know, it's like communal sleeping. And if somebody sleeps on the back, they'll definitely snore. And nobody can get any rest. So sleeping on the back's not a good thing if you're in the ashram. It's a mode of goodness, actually, but you know, in the ashram it doesn't seem to be in the mode of goodness. Okay.
The last one, I guess, here. One should spend Krishna's money discreetly and with responsibility, asking oneself if this expenditure is really necessary for enhancing Krishna's service.
Okay. So I'll just look at Bhakti Chiruswami's Vaishnava Etiquette book and read a bit from page 42. And because he quotes quite often, in this book, there's lots of Prabhupada's quotes. Unfortunately, I have to read this one. But only the hard copy. Kirtan etiquette. Regarding your question about the dancing should be done enthusiastically by raising the hands like Panchatattva. You can also dance enthusiastically by raising hands. All of Lord Chaitanya's followers used to dance with raised hands. If someone dances with ecstasy, that is all right, but it is better to dance with raised hands. Srila Prabhupada, letter to Kirtananda, 11th of the 10th, 1974. There's just a few points here. One, Kirtan means glorification of Sri Hari by means of singing. When only one devotee sings, it is bhajan. Glorify Sri Krishna, not ourselves. Sing with sincere devotion for the pleasure of Sri Krishna and his devotees. So somebody once asked Prabhupada, how do you maintain kirtan for a long period? And Prabhupada said, we have to sing in the right mood. So, you know, if we're not under the impression of false ego, and we're trying to actually please Krishna with the singing, then we can carry on singing indefinitely. When singing in a group, one or two persons should lead and other devotees should follow. Use a simple melody and preferably the appropriate melody for the time of day. So like in the morning, there's this melody for singing morning, Gurubhastakam prayers, one for midday and one for evening, like that. Don't think that you are the best singer, and therefore you should lead Vaishnavas are by nature humble. They naturally want to follow, not lead. However, if they are requested to lead by the Vaishnavas, then they are happy to serve. Instruments for accompanying kirtan should be kartals, mridanga, and wampers. It doesn't say anything about harmonium. Harmonium's usually when, you know, bhajan But nowadays, you know, even at the manor, when once we did Guru Puja, the harmonium starts. So I've just got a book here by Jayad Whittemore. It's called Srila Prabhupada's Kirtan Standards. So I'm just steadily reading through it, but I haven't got to that part about. I'll let you know when I do. Okay, so who's next to read? Maybe Raj Kumar, would you like to read?
Yes, Raman. 1. Leading Kirtan at the Satsanga is an honor, and one is representing the whole congregation before the deities. Therefore, one should be conscious of this and lead only when one is asked to. Sorry, Maharaj, they're too little. I'm reading it from my phone. So, 2. We should sing only those kirtans which are authorized. 3. The Prema Divani prayers, i.e. Jayam Vishnupada, at the end of the kirtan should be recited by the senior most devotee present, e.g. sannyasis or Srila Prabhupada disciples. 4. Only the standard Prema Divani prayers should be recited except on a special occasions like appearance days when the appropriate glorification may be made additionally. 5. There are standards melodies to be sung at a specific time of the day. In particular, in the morning program, the Samsara Dava prayers and Hare Krishna Mahamantra should be sung in the morning melody. 6. Kirtan should be simple and led in a way that can be followed and repeated easily by the congregation. 7. All devotees should enthusiastically sing in chorus.
Okay, maybe we can. Thank you, Rajkumar. Gina Jetani, would you like to read on from 10
Yes,
onwards?
Maharaj. Yes, Maharaj. Thank you. All devotees should follow the same melody that the lead singer is singing. Therefore, devotees should pay careful attention at all times. Mridanga and Kartal players should be close to lead singer and should watch him carefully and adjust their speed according to his. Therefore, the Kartal and Mridanga players should be extra attentive. The general pattern of the morning kirtan should be Samsara Dava prayers, Panchatattva mantra, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and Hari Haraya Namaha, Krishna Yadavaya Namaha.
One
Gopala
thing,
Govinda Ram,
just
Madhusudan.
for those who play instruments, many times, you know, we're playing instruments and then they'll come around with the arty lamp and they'll stop playing the instrument like the mridunga's going and it's starting to build up. They'll just stop and put their hands over the lamp. So, you know, it's better that we actually carry on with what service we have and perfect that. We can always put his hand over the lamp later. Same with Tulsi, stopping playing with the mridanga just to water Tulsi. That can be done later. You know, can you imagine? I was in Russia once and I was leading a kirtan. It was building up, you know, and it was Guru Puja. And just as I was about to come to, you know, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhu, they came along and asked me, said, you have to offer your obeisances to Prabhupada. They wanted me to stop singing and, you know, offer a flower to Prabhupada and pay obeisances. And so, you know, this is a complete misunderstanding. So we should be careful that if we're given a service, don't worry, we're serving Krishna. Just do that service nicely so that everything runs nicely. Okay, carry on, Mataji.
Maharaj, I'm actually outside and I cannot continue anymore. I'm so sorry.
499.
Is that okay? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mataji. Ayurveda.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Number 9, Mridanga and Kartal players. We finished that, Maharaj, isn't it?
Yeah, we finished that.
Number 10, the general pattern of morning Kirtana. We did that one as well. Number 11, where there are 2 or more Kartal players, they must play in harmony. Similarly, for Mridanga players, Kirtan should be sweet and melodious and not simply loud
Okay,
dancing.
carry on.
1. Srila Rupa Goswami states that one should learn to dance in front of the deities. Number 2, dancing should be graceful and enthusiastic, but not violent and wild. 3. Dancing in the traditional Gaudiya way, as demonstrated by Srila Prabhupada, should be the standard. Number 4. In addition, dancing can take place in various formations. For example, rows of devotees rhythmically approaching each other and then receding.
Okay, thank you, Mataji.
Maharaj, can I ask you a question?
Yeah,
Maharaj, these standards, if they're not kind of followed, whose responsibility just to kind of mention it, or what should we do? What's the procedure if it's not followed to some certain degree?
well, after the kirtan, the temple leader or the person in charge can explain these points. If you try to do it in the middle of a rip-roaring kirtan where, devotees may not be actually so in control and it's becoming a little bit wild, it's difficult to control like that. So yeah, the temple president or his representatives or the sannyasi, if he's there, we have to keep reinforcing these things.
And if the same behavior, Maharaj, not repeated again after the mentioning, what's the procedure after that? I mean, if it's a certain devotee has been mentioned and not born, but been mentioned to, and it doesn't sort of cooperate, what's the procedure?
You lock them up. What can you do? You can only keep telling people. I mean, I mean, I've never seen a kirtan which don't, when a kirtan gets going, it's like, it's nearly anything goes. I remember when I first joined, it was at first, I'd only been in the movement about 3 or 4 months, maybe 5 months. And, one of the sannyasis, he jumped off the stage into the audience. Has anybody seen Queen, the lead singer in Queen?
Yeah, yeah.
He used to jump off the stage into the audience and used to catch him. And so one of the sannyasis did that. And then there were so many devotees that were just passing him around and over their heads, it was like laying on top of them. It was going all around the temple room and devotees were just moving. So, it got completely out of hand. But here I put a little note here about example of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. I remember once I was, because this next section, if you just want to read that much, this dancing is not a spectator sport.
This number 7. This dancing is not a spectator sport, and devotees should not simply stand and watch. All should participate. However, those who are unwilling, particularly guests and newcomers, or those who are sick, should not be forced. Example
Yeah.
of Bhakti Tirtha Swami.
Yeah, when I was in Mayapur, he used to read the most wild kirtans, he was very enthusiastic, but the dancing was like proper, and he used to encourage everybody to engage in dancing, but it just sort of intimate to somebody in such a way that they weren't forced to actually engage. They could quite easily refuse. So that's what we should do, especially with newcomers, is not make them feel so uncomfortable, that they probably won't come back again. but we have to sort of encourage them that, you know, you can join if you want, sort of thing, but it's not. So that's the way to actually engage devotees in any service, really, but especially in dancing.
Shall I carry on, Maharaj? Number 8. Dancing in ways that can cause injury to devotees should be avoided. Example, 2 devotees clasping hands and spinning, because it may be harmful to other devotees. Spinning alone with arms outstretched. Tossing children or even grown-ups in the air, lifting them. Pushing excessively while moving in the circle.
Okay, thank you much. So maybe Suman, would you like to read?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Yes, please. Men and women should dance in separate positions of the temple. 10. One should watch the lead dancer always and synchronize. The perfect dance is the Lord Chaitanya's styles, with arms raised or folded hands with enthusiasm and devotion.
Carry on.
Yes. The urge to speak is very strong, and as soon as we get an opportunity, we begin speaking. Srila Prabhupada explains that if we do not speak Krishna Katha, then we speak all sorts of nonsense. 2. Such talk is called prajalpa and is born of our material identification. Thus, devotee must refrain from it. 3. All mundane literatures are also particular exhibitions of the urges to speak. Srila Prabhupada explained in the Nectar of Instructions that materialistic people read heaps of newspaper, magazines, and novels, solve crosswords, and do many nonsensical things. In this fashion, people simply waste their valuable time and energy. In the Western countries, old men retired from active life play cards, fish, watch televisions, and debate about unless socio-political scams. All those and others frivolous activities are included in the Prajalpa categories. Intelligent people interested in Krishna consciousness should never take part in these activities. Srila Rupa Goswami advocates the process of Krishna Katha, talk of all subjects connected to Lord Krishna as a means to counteract the urge to speak. Therefore, if we must talk, we should talk Krishna Katha.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Suman, Shirishta.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you.
Yeah.
5. Before we speak, we should ponder whether it is necessary, is it kind, is it right? 6. Devotees should avoid speech that offends, particularly blaspheming of devotees, which is the first offense against the holy name. Vaishnava aparadha will surely choke our tender devotional creeper very quickly. Preaching. 1. Our actions and behavior are our best preaching because actions speak louder than words. As the saying goes, your actions speak so loud that I cannot hear what you are saying. 2. Preaching means to change the heart, not simply to defeat someone intellectually. 3. This does not mean, of course, that we should not present our philosophy properly. All devotees must endeavor to study Srila Prabhupada's books and understand them thoroughly and try to present faithfully what one has submissively read and heard.
Okay, Maharaj, thank you.
Shall I carry on, Maharaj?
Thank you for reading,
Yeah.
Maharaj. We can probably let
Thank
Ram
you.
Nityananda read next. She's there. Anyway, carry on reading for the next two up to the his central part here.
Okay, Maharaj, thank you. There is no need to read other books or go to other philosophers to learn how to preach. The humble servant of the spiritual master is the best preacher. 5. The principle of preaching is nicely described by Srila Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu.
Yena kena prakarine mana Krishna niveshaya. Some or other one must think of Krishna. This is
6.
actually superior to any other principle given in the Shastras. That's the conclusion. So, actually, preaching, I say, described by Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So, the best way to preach is to do book distribution. Because when we do book distribution, we have to speak to so many people during the day. And they come from so many, different situations, different ages, different social backgrounds like that. And so when they start to speak, and we start a conversation, asking questions, we start to understand what their background is and what their interests are. And then in order to actually interest them in the book, we have to speak on their terms and what they're interested in. So this is the perfect way. It becomes second nature when we meet somebody. When we're giving a class, we ask if there's any new people. We welcome them. And, very quickly we know what to say, how far to go with that person. So that's the art of preaching, is to give a person what he needs and what he can actually digest. We can't expect them to, digest everything straight away. So book distribution, definitely, it works. We do books. We're doing books in Manchester most days now. If anybody would like to experience book distribution, just give me a ring and you can come out with us. We're doing book tables, and so we can just stand behind the table, and when people come up, we can just, when they ask questions, we just answer them and show them the books. It's very, very simple. Okay, so Ram Nityananda, is Ram Nityananda ready yet?
Dandas Pranam Maharaj and everyone. Right. Ultimately, what will change people's heart is not simply the philosophy that we are speaking, but mainly to what extent we have imbibed the philosophy in our lives and realize that knowledge practically. 7, our preaching should generally be done in a humble attitude and not in the attitude of superiority. 8, when preaching, we should simply repeat the words of the spiritual master and deliver his message like a postman. And we should never think that we know more than the previous acharyas. How to preach. We are empowered to the degree that we submissively preaching their words. 9, we must show compassion and concern for the person one is preaching to. One may need to even pay attention to his petty material problems if necessary. 10. One must speak the truth, but according to Desa, Kala, and Patra, i.e. place, time, and people, our goal is to make people Krishna conscious, and we should preach keeping this in mind and do what is needful. 11. One should have a balanced approach while preaching. A good preacher will always understand the need for the devotees in different categories. Just as in material life, there are bankers, lawyers, doctors, and so on. In spiritual life, too, there is a need for, and there will always be willing candidates for the renounce order, and also for those in the household order or professional category. Both varieties of devotees are necessary and valuable. 12. While preaching to a particular person, our approach should be to advise what is best for his Krishna consciousness. 13. Sorry, Mahara.
Okay.
There is a need for qualified brahmacharis, qualified grahastas, qualified vanaprashts, and qualified sannyasis. And we should encourage a person according to where he can make the best spiritual advancement and serve Srila Prabhupada's mission. 14. Basic etiquette must be followed when another devotee is preaching. He should not be suddenly interrupted unless there is something urgent. 15. Basic courteousness must be followed, e.g., wishing with a smile, being helpful if someone needs help or guidance. 16. New people should be made to feel at home and should be given great abundance of love and hospitality.
Okay. Thank you, Ramprabhu. Yeah, so that's main preaching. What really does the preaching is that they see a way of life and they see people who are actually happy and contented. And I'm sure we may have all had that experience when we first started practicing. When I first went to Chaitanya College, which was a big centre in near Birmingham, Worcester, you know, that's what attracted me the most. There were so many Prabhupada disciples there, and I experienced second generation devotees, but they were so their relationship was so nice, and that I just realized that I'm in the right place. And all the philosophy and everything else is actually second to that. Okay, Rajani Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Particularly on Sundays at the temple, devotees should first associate with the guest and newcomers and then with the regular devotees. While we preach to the new people, we must always remember that preaching to devotees is equally, if not more, important. So while we make newcomers feel at home, regular devotees should not be neglected either.
Yeah, this is an important point. Sometimes we can get into a situation where we use the preaching program, and in Manchester's case, the Sunday program, you know, to catch up with friends. But that's not what it's for. We should be going there with the intention of, you know, attracting new people to Krishna consciousness. You know, we may be experienced and we can hear a tape, hear a lecture, and, you know, catch up on the phone. But we should be very mindful that when somebody comes, especially if he's a Western body devotee, that this is completely new to them. It's something which they're not used to, and they're very, very nervous. And so we should be, you know, trying our best to make them feel at home and taking care of them. And I remember when I first visited the Manchester Temple, I was living in Rotherham near Sheffield, and I was like beside myself with you know, not fear, but I was really nervous because it's a completely new situation that you're actually letting yourself in. And usually when Western devotees come to a temple or a preaching center, they're serious. they're serious. They're not going to come to a strange place where, you know, the habits are different, the people are different, the language is different, everything's different, but they come because they're actually searching. And if we greet them nicely, then, you know, they'll carry on with the search. So I just sort of mentioned that. Carry on.
Okay. While we preach to new people, we must always remember preaching to devotees is equally, if not more, important. So while we make newcomers feel at home, regular devotees should not be neglected either. At outside programs, newcomers and guests may be given preferences for asking questions after the lecture, particularly when time is limited. Regular devotees may ask pertinent questions to create an atmosphere in which newcomers would be encouraged to put forth their questions. Or when newcomers have finished with their queries, there is still time left for more questions. We should not advocate or preach breaking of the laws of the land in the name of doing something for Krishna. Devotees should adhere to these laws too. We should not be sectarian. We should respect all bona fide religious and spiritual paths. In particular, we may show special respect for other Vaishnava sampradayas.
Okay. So we can reach page 39, see if there's anything. Actually, what we'll do, we'll read this section first on this particular page and maybe check on page 39 to see if there's anything extra. I think that might be the best. You can just read on a little bit more, Mataji, and then we'll change readers.
First and foremost, one should eat only prasadam. That's the food that has been offered to Lord Krishna with devotion. Ideally, one should eat food that is cooked by devotees, offered to the Lord by devotees, served by the devotees. One should try to come as close to this ideal standard as is practically possible, given the limitations of city life and needs of preaching. Unless absolutely necessary for preaching or service, food cooked by non-devotees should be avoided. In the same spirit, all commercial food items like chocolates, ice cream, chips, biscuits, cold drinks, bread, etc. should be avoided at home. To guests, one may offer homemade food and natural drinks like lemon water, fruit juice, etc. Commercial items may be selectively had while traveling or in otherwise compelling circumstances where the prasadam one is carrying with oneself is not sufficient or as an addition. Uncooked and raw food like fruits, nuts, milk, etc. are preferable to commercially cooked items.
Okay, Mataji, thank you. Yeah, especially grains, beans and grains, they carry more heavy reaction, more karma than vegetables and fruits, especially cooked grains. Yeah. So we shouldn't really anything cooked which is a grain. It's not really advisable to take. Okay, so sometimes while traveling or in, has anybody not read yet?
I'm okay to carry on if you're happy.
No, I'll start reading now, Mataji. It's okay. We'll go round again as much as possible. Oh, somebody's hand's raised. T. Who's is T? What, have you got a question or do you want, or haven't you read?
I haven't read, no. I would like to, if possible.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Carrying with oneself is not sufficient, or as an addition, uncooked and raw foods like fruits, nuts, milk, etc. are preferable to commercially cooked items. Sometimes while traveling or in the course of some preaching or service or professional work, one may be compelled to eat in a restaurant. One should select, if possible, a restaurant which is purely vegetarian, and even then be careful to order items which are without onion and or garlic. One should eat prasadam, which is sattvic in nature, and avoid foods that are rajasic, i.e. foods which are very spicy, oily, and rich. The bhoga must be offered in a proper way at home.
The bhoga means something which has not been offered to Krishna.
Okay.
You've got prasadam or bhoga.
Prasadam should not be wasted. Excess prasadam should be put on another plate before eating. After everyone in the family has eaten, if prasadam is still left, it may be returned for some time for the next meal, if possible, or distributed outside somewhere. Prasadam should be eaten only with the right hand. The left hand is for touching other parts of the body. While serving prasadam, the serving spoon should not touch the plate or the half-eaten prasadam. One should eat prasadam in moderation and preferably at fixed times of the day. Overeating and eating wrong kinds of foods are not good for the spiritual life and also for health. Controlling our diet will help us control our tongue, and this will help us in turn to control our senses. Before honouring prasadam, appropriate prayer should be chanted. Prasadam must be honoured with a consciousness that it is Krishna's mercy and is none different from him. Therefore, except where necessary for preaching, one should maintain silence. Hearing a lecture or a cassette at this time is also beneficial.
Thank you, Master. Okay, so Atavi Krishna, Prabhu, have you read? I didn't see your name.
Yes, Maharaj. I can read if you want.
Yeah.
Thank you. When guests visit the house, the bhoga that has been offered to the home deities becomes Mahaprasadam, which should be distributed to all present in small quantities. Fresh, hot prasadam should be served out as per requirements to all the guests, including guru and sannyasis. When senior Vaishnavas are present, we should patiently wait till they have begun eating, and only then we should begin eating, unless we are told otherwise. One should get up after finishing prasadam only when all have finished eating, except with the permission of senior Vaishnavas present. Guru's Mahaprasadam should not be distributed in presence of newcomers. After one has begun eating prasadam, one should not touch anything else with the right hand. We should not distribute prasadam unless we have washed both hands. One should not take prasadam in view of karmi public, e.g. while walking down the streets or while in procession. As far as possible, prasadam should be honored, either in a private place or where everyone else is taking prasadam. Sure. Kitchen. The kitchen is an extension of the altar because whatever is cooked there will be offered to the deities. So whatever one is doing in the kitchen should be done with care and attention for the deities. Where the deities are formally installed, as in the temple, standards expected are quite high and strict. In comparison, some degree of concession may be offered in respect of household deities, where it is not possible to maintain the same standard. For example, it is a rule that one should not eat in the kitchen or in front of the deities. However, in many homes, the altar, kitchen, and dining table are all in one room, so it may not be possible to follow the above rules.
Yeah, I remember
How-
when I used to cook in the Manchester temple, you know, the Prashadam, sometimes a feast Prashadam. And then when I got Brahmin initiation, I started to cook for the deities at Bhaktivedanta Manor. And there was this experienced Mataji lady who was showing me how to cook. And, you know, every time I just scratched the back of my neck, said, wash your hands. Everything I did, I had to wash my hands. I wasn't, you know, I thought, I can't breathe, I can't touch anything. So it was so strict. So, you know, we try to be as strict as possible. The main thing is to make sure when we use something or we touch anything which is not, you know, for cooking, that we rinse our hands. And then it keeps it. And then when we take a spoon out of the drawer, rinse it and then use it like that. Anything we use. Okay. We've got a couple of minutes left. So is any comments or questions? Okay, then thank you.
So,
everyone.
Maharaj, are we continuing next Wednesday as well?
Yes, I mean,
Okay.
There's more to cover.
Okay.
And I'm available to cover it. I'm just, if the devotees want that, you know, it's entirely up to the devotees. We've got other aspects of Vaishnava etiquette to cover, you know, like even management. There's a certain etiquette in management. So like that.
There is a question in the chat box, Maharaj.
There's a question, is there where?
In the chat box. Do you want me to read it out?
I haven't got a chat box, just a minute. Yeah, read it.
Yeah. Are we allowed to offer obeisances while I have a little problem here? While we are in the middle of our chanting to the deity or Vaishnava, what is the etiquette when a senior Vaishnava comes before us while we chant?
Well, I know when there's a class, for instance, there's somebody giving a class, like at Bhaktivedanta Manor, and the curtains open for the deities. And we don't have to pay obeisances because we're already worshipping Krishna by hearing about him. But what we can do, we can just, so we don't disturb the speaker and we disturb everybody else, we can just, you know, look at the deities and fold our hands and just bend forward a little bit and nothing's actually disturbed. So similarly, you know, if a Vaishnava comes in, the senior Vaishnava, and then if the curtains are closed, we can offer our obeisances because Twadhyanam, you know, the Vaishnava is more important to Krishna to be glorified than himself. But I'm not 100% sure on that one. I don't know whether Gaura Shakti has anything to say. But generally, you know, when we chant in japa, we're worshipping Krishna. So, you know, we should concentrate on one thing. And maybe when they take Tulsi out of the room, then we put our japa bead back down and we can offer obeisances. But, you know, it's not that every 5 minutes we put our bead back down to actually follow some ritual unnecessarily. The main thing is to chant our japa. The main thing is to listen to Srimad Bhagavatam like that and not disturb the, you know, that particular means of worship.
Okay, so thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, everybody. So yeah, we'll carry on next week.
Yeah, same time, same link.
Okay, everybody. Thank you for joining.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Srila Prabhupada ki.
Yeah.
Aye. Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you,
Hare
Maharaj.
Krishna.
Krishna.